Hello everyone, Rare Model Reviews here, and today we have the 1 to 144 scale Real Grade God Gundam. So this is actually when I said I was going to do a little later because I wanted to do my kids more in order, but I have something special coming in soon for them. Not to be confused with the Earth Ring I unboxed last week. I will be doing that next. That should release in a couple of days as I want to kind of space my reviews of those out, and it's going to be a quick one, so I don't want to hold that off for a week. That'd feel a little wrong. But regardless, we're gonna get straight into this guy here. So we have here the colors. And I just want to mention right now, this thing has like amazing color separation. The reds, the blues, yellows, grays, blacks, all of this stuff is straight out of the box. You just cut them off the runner, put it together, and it's there. Like you even make it out there. There's like some off-whites there to break up the monotony here. So even like the parts where it's just large portions of white, it looks good. It pops a little better because of it. There are a few stickers, well actually quite a few, but the major ones you'll need, there'll be a couple for the front here, and then a few for the eyes, as well as one for the back. Now I didn't put in any of the cameras for the stickers for the cameras because they wanted you to look at the back of the manual and put on the stickers, much like everything else. There's only a few stickers they told you to put in during your construction. These weren't one of them. These were actually ones you're supposed to put in towards the end for the knees here. I'm not sure if you guys can make that out quite right, but there's like this metallic gold and black for the knees here, where it's usually just a yellow part of there. So I had to put those in just because those look really good. But I didn't get around to the ones in the camera because during the construction, again, they didn't tell you to put them on, and I wasn't sure what the heck I was quite building at, so I didn't want to try to put on the stickers preemptively and mess them up, so I just didn't. But I'll try to put those on for the Earth Ring review. At least you guys be able to get a before and after with it. But moving on, we're going to go to articulation. So bear with me here if this head pops off. One major gripe I'll say about this kit right now is the construction for the head, or at least putting on the piece that connects the head to the torso, is a little wonky. It's friction based. Thankfully, only one other part on this thing is friction based. Well, actually, no, two more. Only one that's a problem, I should say. But if you're careful enough with this head, as you can see, the articulation on it is amazing. Again, you got to be a little more careful because this head isn't very stable, unfortunately. Now I'll get into why that is later. The arm articulation is amazing, of course. As you can see, move very high up there. There's even a little bit of forward movement there. That's usually good for shooting poses, but this thing is more so for the crossed arm pose. I'll try to pull off later. No surprise here, I'm sure, but incredible arm movement there. And this thing's honestly just overachiever in the articulation. As you can see here, it moves under the what do we call that, shoulder there. There's a piece here that allows it to move around the gauntlets there as well. There's a little bit of wiggle here in this part here. I don't think I could quite get it, but of course, ball joint for the hand, so you can do a lot with that. The waist movement is pretty good as well. Do some side to side. I don't know why this thing does not like focus. Every time you move something, it focuses. You see, it has a great ab crunch there, especially going upwards. And again, you move that head with it. I mean, you can do a lot with this thing. So this thing, as you can see, be able to pull off some nice aerial poses if you can get it flush with the base. Now, this isn't a major gripe, it's a minor gripe, but the waist armor is like connected to the back of the waist here too, so you have to be very ginger with moving this thing. But as you can see, it does have a wide range of movement. The beam saber rack has a little bit of movement with it too, so you can move that a little bit. But of course, if you can move this thing, the side armor here just right. I mean, we already know it can do it just from looking at the images when this thing came out in the promotions, but flawlessly it can do a split. And thankfully, although it has a lot of this big bulky armor, it does not get in the way of articulation like at all. As you can see here, it moves all the way up. And of course, that means that he can bring that foot all the way up in the air. You could probably do a little bit more, honestly. I guess the waist movement kind of hinders it a little bit, but not enough where it's messing up poses in my opinion here. And of course the waist armor in the back can move as well. Like I said though, it moves with the side armor, so you have to kind of finagle it a little bit to get things going. But I mean, I don't have to do both legs, you know, they both move. So you can do some back kicks here. I guess this gets in the way a little bit, but again, you see where I'm going with this thing. The stuff you can do with this thing, it's just like, this is incredible. Like, this is honestly the articulation is what really sold me on this kit. I originally wanted to hold out for a master grade, which ironically they had on the Gundam store not long ago. But I just seen the articulation of this thing, just the overall design, and it made it way too tempting for me to ignore it. So I just had to get this thing. It just looks too good, and the stuff it could pull off is just way too incredible for me not to have picked it up. So I'm glad I did. And I wonder if they're going to have to do a P Bandai release of this thing gold. That would be tempting, but I more so want to hold out for a gold version of the master grade, whatever they do, some reprints of that. Because I still want to get a master grade version of the God Gundam, as I heard that thing was like the master grade, the best master grade ever until the Gundam 2.0 was made, of course. So this thing actually has like some independent movement on the foot here, from the heel to the toe. It is quite kind of hard to move the foot around a little bit because it's like separated, but I'm sure again you guys seen from the promotional image, I gotta pull it off. The accessories for this thing is basically just transformation in the hands, but like I said, it's a little tough because the heel movement here is so wonky. But let me see if I can pull it off. The pose it did here, where it's basically doing like a split, yet the toes were touched on the ground. You get this thing to focus. So as you can see, I mean, you can't argue with that. This is amazing. I know that the original master grade couldn't do this. It had great articulation, but I think this thing kind of blows that thing out the water. So I think that just about covers articulation. I mean, no, there's still one more thing I can do here. The wings here. Oop. Okay, actually a piece fell off. Oh boy. Let me see if I get that back on. Okay, first accessory. Screw it. I'm gonna attach that. How the heck did I pull that off? It was not supposed to happen. Did it come out like this? Yeah, there we go. Okay. Actually, it wasn't that hard to put in as I thought. But yeah, like I said, first accessory, I guess. We're just gonna do this since that already happened. If I can get this thing to not fall apart on me. All right. Oh, did I mess something up? There we go. No, that's not it either. Did I put this in backwards? Is that what it is? Hold on. There we go. Yeah, I put it on backwards. Okay. So again, all right. First accessory, as you can see, we have the core lander here. If it focuses, it keeps unfocusing every time something moves around. So you can see it has a little transformation here. The thrusters, I was trying to show off, move up and down individually there. The wings here also can move, as you've seen there. So you're able to move these things outward together, but I guess not. You can move them individually there, as you can see, but that's more so for the transformation. Yeah, so I guess you kind of can't quite have them going to the side like this. I mean, you can, but this doesn't quite look right in my opinion. But yeah, so you can move these a little bit, but they more so just pop out when you try. But I'm gonna try to move these back down in position there. As you can see, you can kind of move them around a little bit individually and all that, but that's more so for the transformation. You can't really move these together, which is a little disappointing, but yeah. So aside from that minor hiccup, that actually took up quite a bit of time. The accessories to this thing basically are just the hands really, but as you can see, we have an open hand here and a fist hand. And you have a variety of different hands, such as the crossed, these look like karate chop type hands. I don't know why they have a hole in them, by the way, and why this thing doesn't want to focus, but there we go. So we also have, again, the open fist and I'm sorry, the open palm and the fist hands. I'm gonna take those out in a second there. And then we also have two hands here, which are for holding the beam katanas, which I will show off right now, actually. Then, of course, it comes with two pink beams for the katanas. So I'm going to take one hand off here. Unlike the real great Avas, you don't have to hold onto the wrist to take off these hands. Probably wouldn't be a bad idea. I tried to have this thing. Oh, jeez. Hopefully I did not super lose that. I need to do the other hand. I wasn't supposed to drop on the floor. I'll do the other hand. I'm not going to sit here and look for that one. That wasn't supposed to fall on the ground, but of course it did. There you go. So what you do is just separate that hand. I'm going to take that one off. And you take out the beam here. And the one little minor gripe I have about this thing, also I'm going to mention this. This thing is like super friction based, but it holds in well enough. And also I forgot to mention the core fighter's cockpit can open up a little bit. So there you go. But anyway, the hand here is kind of the beam saber here, the way you connect it, you have to kind of push it out from the back. It holds in well, it doesn't fall off and all that. It doesn't take a lot of effort to take it off. My major complaint with it really is just the fact that if you are being realistic with this thing, I'm not too sure how the heck it's supposed to take off that beam saber if you have to slide out from the back. And it's supposed to be like a samurai, you know, a katana. You're supposed to kind of, you know, I do it on camera, you know, kind of take it out like that. So, oh, by the way, because, oh, I didn't mention that, yeah, 360 the waist. I don't know if I did the wig or not, but yeah. So yeah, you can actually, of course, have it simulate pose like it's taking out and swinging. It's just being realistic. If you have to move it out from the back, technically wouldn't be able to do that. But anywho, I rambled about this beam katana enough. So you just, of course, plug it in there just like so. And one thing I didn't mention during the unboxing, I glazed over, is this thing is like shaped like an actual katana. So I think that's really cool. They didn't just reuse the typical beam saber effects. They gave it an actual katana. So you could, of course, do a lot with this thing because of that. So I'm in love with this katana. But how much? I want to have him just keep this thing in there and all that. I missed out on two more hands, which are, dare I say, the coolest hands of them all, or the selling point. So you actually have two of these burning, or god hands, or gato hands, whatever you want to call it, this damn thing. So I'm only going to put on one of them here. And then I'm going to, of course, put in the signature hand, which is the god hand here. It fortunately only has one hand, and that's a bit of a complaint I think I mentioned in the review. It should have two, because I'm sure if anyone's seen the show, you'll know he had that signature moment during the show where he did the god hand with the left hand. So I was very disappointed he didn't do that. It's not a big deal. You can still kind of pull it off. This one's just, it's not in the actual pulls like it's supposed to. So that's actually going to be it for the quote-unquote accessory. So we're going to go into the transformation here. So what you do for that, technically this is a part of the transformation. This is another gimmick, but I figure from transforming things, we might as well. But as you can see here, the Gatling guns here in the chest can open up, which I love. See if I can pull off the shoulder arm here without any technical difficulties. It doesn't help that I trim my fingernails. I actually might put these down. I think this might make it a little easier. Here we go. So you lift these up like so. Okay, come on. There we go. The chest here, and this is one of the pieces I was mentioning when I said it was a bit of an issue, but there we go. Yeah, and as you can see, the head kind of pops off a little bit, but there's like a little jewel in here for the Kingdom Hearts crest and whatnot. And this piece in is purely friction based, and I would not be surprised if it pops off. So I'm hoping it doesn't, of course. I was actually going to do this with articulation, but I decided not to because I personally consider this part of transformation. But as you can see here, these back pieces in the leg move up like so. And I've had people complain about these in other reviews I've seen, but I guess they didn't put them in right because these things I have no issues with whatsoever. And they look incredible, by the way. I love this. It's one of the coolest aspects I always thought of the God Gundam there. Those thrusters, I guess you'd call that. Okay, of course, I've got the claws. So what you do for the claws is you, of course, oops, if I can do this on camera. I'll show it off again on the other hand anyway, but you then bring this forward like so. There you go. The same deal here. Bring these forward like so. And then you, of course, make sure that these things are lined up with the God hand there. And you're supposed to kind of move these little yellow pieces here as well. And there we go. So now we have him in his hyper mode here. And then, of course, spin these wings here up. And something fell off. I think that was part of the shoulder. I knew that would happen. So you just spread these out. Once again, doing things off camera, so focused on making sure it's done right. Here we go. These thrusters real quick, that's bothering me, but there we go. So now we have him in his hyper mode here. And one very cool thing, this might have actually, honestly, what really sold me on this. The original Master Grade never had the rings here, but this does. So all you do for the rings here, there's like some grooves in the back that you can make out. You just align these grooves there into it. And for those of you who are curious, you can't use this, the rings, while it's in core lander form, because unfortunately, those parts are angled down. So if you want to try to make a hyper mode core lander, that does not work. And of course, that thing slid down. There we go. So we now have one final thing we're going to do. It's not technically accessory, but we're going to put this thing on the action base. So I'm not sure if you guys can quite make that out, but there's like a little groove under the crotch here. And what you're going to do here, make that out, is like a little tab where my finger is going. And you just kind of slide that down there. And then you take out a handy dandy Action Base 5 here, and you just slide that on in there. Now this one's a little loose. Oops. I really wish that the bottom Action Base connect a little better, but you of course can get this guy airborne. The camera walked around a little bit. So voila, now you can pull off some nice dynamic air poses here. So if you want to do a lot of those high flying kick poses and whatnot, this Action Base really unlocks that. And I guess it's not a bad thing that it spins a little bit. Yeah, I imagine you can pull some stuff off of there if you can angle it right with the spins and all that. But that's really it, you know. Oh yeah, I did want to show that cross arm pose while I'm talking about this thing. But yeah, if you guys couldn't tell, of course, I highly recommend this guy. I couldn't recommend this thing anymore. Again, it has some minor gripes I have with it, but again, a lot of those aren't deal breakers, such as the clear jewel in the chest. You can honestly just glue that in if you are annoyed by it, which I need to get around to doing, honestly. What was I about to say? For the most part, there aren't really any loose parts. Again, besides that jewel, I find. The part of the shoulder there fell out, but again, I've never really had any, oh, is that why this thing can, oh, I think that's maybe why there's a hole here, because this hand here can move around a little bit. I didn't realize that. You guys can make that out, a little ball joint that's movable. I don't think any other ones can move like that. Okay. Also want to mention, the original real grades used like the advanced MS joint thing or whatever, where basically the whole inner frame was pre-assembled on a tree. This thing doesn't. Oh, I also didn't mention that this thumb area here can move. It's not really necessary in the transformation, but it can. But anyway, I just not cut myself off. This thing only really does the advanced MS joint for like this part of the arm here. Everything else you kind of have to assemble, which is not a bad thing. Anyone who's built earlier rail grades would know those things were really fragile, fell apart, and just because they're a little over engineered. But anyway, if I could pull off this cross arms pose, so there's like a little hinge that's supposed to be inside the shoulders here. It kind of like dislocates, and you kind of would use that to help this thing do the crossed arm pose here. So more or less that's it, I guess. You'd have to kind of, because the box kind of showed you how to do it too, which is I found funny, but you're supposed to kind of do something like this, but you get the gist of it. I'll put the amazing backpack back on. But yeah, so this thing actually is, the feet are a decent size. They're not too big, not too small, so he can stand just fine for the most part. You just make sure to angle everything right, so it's because you see how much movement it has with it, so it makes it a little tricky. But again, it looks great, poses amazing. It has just about everything you expect the God Gundam to have. Like, you can't complain about this thing like at all. And there's like already a lot of third-party support for this thing. Like I said, I got something amazing coming soon that I'm going to be unboxing and building and reviewing like ASAP when it comes. So I can't wait for you guys to see that. And like I said, if I haven't already, I just couldn't recommend this thing anymore. It just does everything perfect, honestly. I just could not recommend anyone this kit anymore. Whether you're a fan or if you just look at this thing and think it's amazing. It's a Katoki kit as well, no one knew. And honestly, this is probably my favorite of Katoki's designs. This is just everything about the God Gundam is amazing, and it just like craps all over the Shining Gundam. Like even in the TV show, it looks amazing compared to Shining Gundam. And honestly, my message to Bandai, if they're watching this, I doubt it, but I'll say it anyway. I don't know if they're planning on it or not, but they need to make a Master Gundam, and hell, do a Shining Gundam for the heck of it. I don't know how we haven't gotten one yet. Then again, I don't think we've gotten Railways for the Victory or X Gundams as well. So, I mean, they're slowly but surely working their way up. So, once again, I thank you guys so much for watching this. This is Rare Model Reviews. Like, comment, and subscribe. And stay tuned for the next review.